it's not always been like this. So, when I first started watching Man City, from early 80s right the way through to today's team, formidables, racism was just an epidemic. It was normal. Monkey chants like ooh, 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 ooh. It was common to hear the word nigger and wog and black bastard and all the F words and C words. And having grown up with racism, I understood that white people back in the day came out with these things as fluently as breathing. So I tended to ignore it. Felt a bit embarrassed sometimes when it got a bit aggressive, but that's how it was when I started following City. Racism was just an epidemic. It was normal. Like I said, it was like breathing to some people. But it was more of a gang social problem, not just on the football terraces. It was in society as well. It was displayed more at football matches. One of my first experiences to do with a huge racist organised event was going to see City play Leeds away. It was my first ever away game, and I remember I was quite a young teenager then, and I remember we had a black goalkeeper called Alex Williams, and I remember when he came out on the pitch for the start of the game, he had to run towards the Leeds fans. And as he ran towards the Leeds fans, they'd organised to buy as many bananas as possible. And when Alex Williams, our black goalkeeper, ran towards them, an avalanche of bananas were thrown at him. And being a young teenager back then, I didn't understand the depth of racism that I was looking at. But this was something that stuck with me for most of my life. Seeing one banana thrown on the pitch in 2019 this year, a banana skin, it's on the national press and everybody hunts down the person that did it. But back in the day, when Alex ran on the pitch, bananas were thrown at him and the stewards had to come on with bin liners and pick up these bananas. Alex certainly didn't pick up a banana and eat it, from what I can remember, unless I missed it. But racism back then was what it was. I remember many years ago going away with my mate Desi, Steve, in fact two Steves. Because we were from Old Trafford, we used to call ourselves the OT Blues. I remember being at the service station, and me and my mate Desi, we went up the stairs and across the service station motorway and down on the other side. We was just around there for a bit, just hanging around. Then we come back to get back on the coach, and as we were coming down the stairs, I remember there was probably 100 Stoke fans, and we were only little kids and we were only teenagers. And what happened was, as we got to the top of our stairs to come down, we had no choice. We had to come down because it's where our coach was. So as we stood at the top of the stairs, there were all these Stoke fans at the bottom. And I remember something amazing happened. They just looked at us and thought, what do we do with these two City fans? I can't remember if we had colours on, but clearly we looked like we were going to the game. We used to wear these little badges at the time, the little City emblem. And I remember we just thought, right, we're going to get absolutely beaten up here by these Stoke fans. And I remember as we walked down the stairs, they parted like the Red Sea. And me and my mate Desi, I remember just walking right the way through these fans thinking we're just going to get hammered in a bit. But anyway, we managed just to walk through, no problems. But what the funny thing was, we managed to get an hour coach and we left to go to the game. But as we were leaving the service station, the actual City hooligans on another coach, they were coming into the coach station. So as they came into the coach station, they managed to meet up with these Stoke fans. What we heard later on in the day, that there was a massive football hooligan uproar at the service station that we were at. So clearly, as we'd left the service station and this other coach had pulled in full of City fans, they met up with these Stoke hooligans, and I believe that was in the press the next day and on the news and all sorts of stuff. But again, you know, these are my experiences from being a young football fan following City up and down the country. Another experience following City is me and my mate Desai. Again, we went to see City away at Charlton Athletic, and it was in the old ground, the Valley, and they had a stand that was just pure standing. It was probably one of the ugliest stands I've ever seen in my life. It was just concrete with bars on it with no roof. Anyway, as we got to the ground quite early, me and my mate Desi, we decided just to hop around the area and see what was going on. And we're still young teenagers here. And I remember, we got on this bus, went for this bus ride because it was quite early in the afternoon and we got there early. And I remember I was on this bus and there were these two blokes with beards, big blokes. And I remember we were only quite small at the time, young teenagers. And I remember they were like Millwall fans. And they were literally saying to us, come on, we're Millwall. Come on, we'll have you, come on. Get off the bus, come on. And me and my mate Desi, we were like terrified. We were thinking, we've only come here for a football match. You know, we weren't really deep football hooligans back then. But, you know, we were being asked to get off the bus so we can have a bit of a rumpus with these two big blokes. To be honest, back then, if the laws that applied now applied then, they would have probably been arrested and put on a child offenders register, whatever you call it. But again, that's what it was like back in the day. Back in the early 80s when I first started following City, I remember the Luton Town game, Luton at home, when we got relegated. After that game, everybody was so angry, all the City fans. I remember them going down to what is now known as, it's an old coach park that the away fans used to park on Princess Parkway. And I remember a lot of the fans walked down there and started stoning the Luton Town coaches because they just relegated us into the old second division. So we were always formidables. 82-83 season. So I remember it well. So it's not always been happy days.
Steen drove it low against Caton. And Steen again. And he gets the cross in. And Williams has gone. And Tish! Oh, it's there! They've done it! Buddy and Tish! 4 minutes from the end. David Pleat off the bench. He knows there's still 4 minutes to go. They surely mustn't let the celebrations go on too long. Forward by Caton. Bond, Kinsey. And that's it! Luton Town have survived! David Pleat on the pitch. He's kept them up. What an amazing act of escapology here by Luton. But as they celebrate, Manchester City, one of the most accomplished clubs of a few years ago, are relegated.
Oldham Athletic away, and it was a bit of a dark day for City fans because we basically took over the ground, and there was quite a lot of violence on that day. And I just remember just getting carried away with the whole events on that day, and just seeing quite a lot of stuff happening on and off the pitch, and potentially that could have been another Hillsborough, because a lot of the fans weren't even paying in. They were just jumping over the turnstiles. There wasn't enough police officers to manage the away fans, because we just brought thousands and just took over Oldham on that day. Yeah, I got another City story. Me and a friend of mine, Desai, We went to Grimsby Town away, and I remember it was cheaper to pay into their end than it was to pay into our end as the away fans. So I remember as we were queuing up to get into the ground, we were getting some funny looks by the home fans, but we just thought, you know, it's a laugh, you know, it's cheaper, so let's pay in our end. So when we paid in, we found somewhere to sit, and funny enough, we couldn't see another black person anywhere. We couldn't see another black person anywhere in the home fans. So we found some seats not far away from the City fans, and those City fans who knew who we were, you know, were like laughing and joking and pointing at us because we were just sat in there and trying to blend in. Well, a black guy trying to blend in Grimsby was like a fish out of water, really. Just didn't work. So, you know, we just sat there, didn't cause any trouble, we sat there, and I remember this policeman kept on looking at us, and I think he caught on what was going on, and then he walks up to us and he says to me, he says, "Where are you from?" So I said, "I'm from Manchester." And he says, "Right, out, get out." And then my mate said, Desai said, "You've only done that because he's black." And the copper says to him, "Right, you, out as well." So I think we got beat 4-1 that game, and we listened to the game on the coach, with the coach driver. So it's another game we missed. But again, you know, we just thought it was a bit of a laugh going into there, and because it was cheaper. But I got spotted, clearly. Even though we weren't making any trouble. I was thrown out because I said I was from Manchester. So it's not always been fun. It's not always been good watching City. It's not always been this expensive. It used to be cheap, but when the money comes in to your club, and when the sheikhs and the oligarchs take over your club, what you do miss is those environments where, you know, you were following the team, not because they were world-class superstars, but because you were City through and through, regardless of who you were playing, home or away. If you could get there, you would get there. So now you can't get there because there seems to be a corporate environment, hospitality environment, where us boys don't get tickets anymore. But we're still CTID.
Today, Manchester City's loyal supporters know that a draw will be enough to preserve the First Division status that they've enjoyed for 17 years. While the Luton fans know their team must go for a win. They remember it was against City that Luton's last First Division campaign ended 8 years ago. Well, there's not much between the two sides in the league table, and there's not much between them on the pitch this afternoon so far.
Another event to do with racism was I went to Barnsley with two mates of mine, and it was Barnsley away. Anyway, as we parked up the vehicle, my two friends were both white. I was the only black guy. Probably I was the only black guy in Barnsley on that day. But anyway, so we got to Barnsley, we parked up the car, and as we made our way to the football ground, there was quite a lot of commotion going on. There was people running up and down and saying, oh, they're fighting up there and they're fighting over here. So we just thought, okay, we'll just make our way to the ground. So as we walked to the ground, I was surrounded by some individuals, and I heard all of these monkey chants and these comments that were clearly racist, but I was in Barnsley, and that's what, you know, they did at football matches. So anyway, as I was walking, suddenly I found myself surrounded by all of these aggressive Barnsley fans, and I was the only black guy in the area. But what was quite comical was my two white friends, they were okay, but they were targeting me. So next thing, there was a bit of a pushing and a bit of struggling, and then from nowhere, I was just surrounded probably by about 10 police officers that were physically getting hold of me and pulling me in all these different directions. And one of them was shouting, "Get on the floor, get on the floor!" And I remember my mate Alan said afterwards, he says, "Andy, these police officers were hanging off you like leaves off a tree." He says, "There was no way you looked like, you know, you were going down on the floor." Now, I wasn't fighting back, I wasn't resisting arrest. I didn't need to be put down on the floor after being racially abused and racially attacked. But I was in Barnsley, Yorkshire, and I was at a football match. I was a black guy. But what was quite ironic is when I was arrested, I was put in a police cell at 2:45, and all the people that were arrested after me, after 2:45, and before me, were all let go sometime in the evening or sometimes in the night. And the reason why I know that is because when I was arrested at 2:45, a police officer came on about 12 o'clock at night, and then he said to me, "What are you still doing here? Everyone else has gone home." So I said, "What do you mean, gone home?" He says, "Well, everybody else that was arrested today had already gone home. You're the last person here." Okay, right. So I've been racially abused. I've had to defend myself by a gang of people that were being racist, and then I was arrested. Then I was thrown in the police cell, and then I was left there to rot all day. best matches City fans have ever watched at Old Trafford. The thriller at Old Trafford. Mario Balotelli, after 22 minutes, bang. Why always me? Balotelli, after 59 minutes, bang. Why always him? Bang. David Silva. Sergio Aguero, 68 minutes, Old Trafford. Sergio Aguero. David Silva steps up at Old Trafford. Bang. This guy is world class. This guy, wanted by Barcelona, stayed at Manchester City. One of the best players ever to wear a blue shirt. Can't get the ball off him. Never a stray pass. Sees things in the future before they even happen. Sets players up with balls that are just so amazing. You couldn't do the maths. Physics. David Silva, one of the best players ever to wear a blue shirt. The magician. 92 plus minutes on the clock. Ball comes over. Drops in front of Edding. Bang. 6. Old Trafford. 6 of the best. One of the best games for all City fans to remember, to watch, and just to remind themselves that years of criticism, mocking and jesting, it'll never happen in my lifetime, says Fergie. Well, it happened in his lifetime. The story of empty seats with 15 minutes to go. Silva, Balotelli, Edding. Who can forget that game? One of the best games for City fans to watch, to be at. 6-1. 89 minutes. The player that scored the header in the game that helped us win the Premier League. Before the Aguero goal, the famous Aguero goal, there was another guy who scored header from a corner. Edding scores. Old Trafford, 8 to 9 minutes. Bang. Edding, get in there. Old Trafford. The pinnacle of most City fans' experience, journey, pilgrim, as Blues. To see our team go to Old Trafford and win 6-1 takes away a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of mocking, and brings a little bit of healing from all the hurt we've suffered, all the mocking, all the songs, all the jeering, every painful defeat. 6-1, Old Trafford.
fans. Vincent Kompany, sum up his legacy at this football club.
Goal in the derby against Man United, Vincent Kompany. Goal against Leicester, Vincent Kompany. Our loss is Anderlecht's gain. So Anderlecht getting a great footballer, great defender, and I'm sure he's going to be successful.
Sure he will do.
Last week, when they sealed the Premiership for me, and absolutely, I'm sorry to see him go.
Incredible year for us, and incredible. So for the organization, all the people from Man City.
It's the best team in the world for me, you know. To set such a high standard for such a long period of time. I'm not talking 1 year, I'm talking 2 years running, you know. What a team, what a privilege.
Pete, quick into it, you reckon?
That was good.
That was well then?
Yeah, it was good.
Saturday, the 5th of March 1994, Loftus Road, QPR versus Manchester City. Andy Dibble, Richard Edgill, Terry Phelan, Michael Vonk, Alan Kernigan, Steve McMahon, David Roldcastle, Mike Sheeran, Fitzroy Simpson, Gary Philipcroft, Carl Griffiths. Some of our subs: Paul Lake, Michael Quigley, who lived on my street in Old Trafford, Stamford Street. Michael Quigley lived on my street. A guy off my street was playing for Manchester City. Steve Lomas, David Kerr, Eddie Mike. Man City, back in the day, QPR away. Forest, 3rd of March 1990, Forest. Andy Dibble, Alan Harper, Andy Inchcliffe, Peter Reid, Colin Henry, Steve Redmond, David White, Mark Ward, Wayne Clark, Gary Megson, Paul Lake. There you go. An away game with the Blues back in the day, 1990, when you could get tickets for away games. The Villa, Aston Villa away. This was our team back in the day. Official match programme. April Fool's Day 1990, Sunday the 1st of April. Aston Villa versus Man City away, when you could get tickets for away games. Here we go again. Manchester City, Andy Dibble, Alan Harper, Paul Lake, Peter Reid, Colin Henry, Steve Redmond, David White, Mark Ward, Niall Quinn, Clive Allen, Gary Megson. Gary Megson. No world-class players, just faithful team. Manchester City. What else have we got here? Let's go back to 1989. Southampton at home. 23rd of August 1989. Andy Dibble, Paul Lake, Andy Inchcliffe, Ian Bishop, Brian Gale, Steve Redmond, David Oldfield, Clive Allen, Trevor Morley, Neil McNabb, Nigel Gleghorn. Back in the day, before the money came in, this is who we were. Here we go again. 19th of February 1994, away. Coventry City versus Manchester City. Kick-off 3 o'clock. This was the Carling Premier League game back in the day. Tony Colton, Richard Edgill, Terry Phelan, Steve McMahon, Keith Curl, Michael Vonk, David Oldcastle, Mike Sheeran, Carl Schutz, Gary Flitcroft and Carl Griffiths. This was back in the day before the money came in. When people say, where were we as City fans? Where were we? when we were poo. Well, this is where we were. Coventry away. Yep. Villa away. Nottingham Forest away. QPR away. This is when we were rubbish. Let me go and get one more from the other side of the room. Just one sec. Here we go. Where were we? Watford away. In fact, let's name our squad. This is a City squad back in the day against Watford. Watford away. Nicky Weaver, Stuart Pearce, Richard Edgill, Gerard Vikins, Andy Morrison, Kevin Orlock, Darren Huckabee, Paul Dickoff, Sean Goater, Terry Cook, Christian Nagula, Al Berkovic, Alfie Highland, Paul Ritchie, Jeff Whitley, Danny Tiato, Carlo Nash, A. Toro, Richard Dunn, Paolo Wanchop, Steve Howe, Matomo, Mears, Glenn Whelan, Sean Wright Phillips, Lauren Chavette, Leon Mike, Chris Kilnan, Brian Murphy, Nicholas Jensen, Dickoff, Atuhu Dixon, Chris Shelker, and Ali Benabia. Nicky Weaver, Stuart Pearce. So back in the day before the money came in, back in the day before we won 4 trophies, the Formidables, back in the day before we were Formidables, this is who we were playing back in the day. Before the money came in, this is who we were watching, where we were going. Millwall, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Burnley, Norwich, West Brom, Birmingham City, Palace, Preston North End, Coventry, Watford, Forest, Gillingham, Sheffield United, Wimbledon, Portsmouth, Bradford City, Rotherham United, Barnsley, Crewe Alexander, Walsall, Sheffield Wednesday, Grimsby Town, and Stockport County. Stockport County. That was the nationwide league Division 1. It was not the Premiership. There was no money. There was no Champions League, Europe. This is where we were going and what we were doing when City were poo. So I'm just going to have a quick rundown on grounds that I've been to back in the day. So before I mentioned all the team in the league, before I mentioned all the teams in the league in that Division 1, now I'm going to mention some of the clubs that I visited back in the day. Been to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Never been to Burnley. Been to Norwich. I've been to West Brom. I've been to Birmingham. I've been to Crystal Palace. I've been to Coventry a few times. I've been to Watford. I've been to Nottingham Forest. I've been to Sheffield United. I've been to Bradford. Been to Barnsley. I've been to Sheffield Wednesday. I've been to Grimsby Town. And I've been to Stockport County. So back in the day, they were some of the clubs that I visited, following the Blues when we had no money. And people were singing, people sing now, where were you when you were poo? Well, we were poo then, and we still carried tens of thousands of fans up and down the country. One of the funniest things that happened at a football match was nothing at all to do with the game, nothing at all to do with football at all. It was actually to do with parking my car. And what happened when we were at Main Road in Moss Side, I remember pulling up outside Alexander Park, and this white kid comes up to me and he said, "Can I mind your car, please?" And there was a black kid behind him that always looked after our car every home game. It was the same black kid, week in, week out. You know, this guy would come up to us and we just, give him 50p to look after our car, pocket money. So anyway, me being 6'3", 18 stone, I turns around and I said to this little white kid, I said, he minds our car all the time. So this little white kid, when I say little, it must have been about 9 or 10. He says to me, "No, not anymore. this is my patch. I'm looking after this patch now. He's not doing it anymore. So I said, listen, mate, he looks after my car, that kid over there. And it wasn't anything to do with his colour. He just always looked after our car. So this white kid says, well, there's not anymore. He's doing it. So I said, look, mate, just on your bike, this kid's looking after my car. So the kid says to me, you better move your car. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're not parking here. I said, who are you talking to? You're telling me I've got to move my car? He said, yeah, you're not parking here anymore. This is my patch. Now, this kid is about 10 years old. He's looking at me seriously and telling me I've got to move my car. I've always parked here. The little black kid always looks after my car, and he's telling me, not today. So I looks at my mate, and my mate's looking at me thinking, what are you going to do, Andy? You're getting bullied by a 10-year-old. So I said, look, mate, push off. You're not looking after my car. So he says, okay then. And he pulls out his mobile phone, and he starts making phone calls, telling people what the situation was. And he's calling people down to Alexander Park to come and deal with me. So I'm thinking, what do I do here? Do I throw the kid in the boot and drive off? Do I bury him in the park? What do I do with the kid? Anyway, I had to get in my car and move my car to the other side of Moss Side to be safe, because I was bullied by a 10-year-old to do with parking my car outside Alexander Park. So when I got to the game, because I let my mates walk up, when I got to the game, they were like, Andy, you've been bullied by a 10-year-old. A kid's bullied you with a mobile phone. Anyway, it wasn't funny at the time, because I was bullied by a 10-year-old parking my car. Anyway, incidentally, what we did find out was that a load of gypsies had moved in and around Moss Side at the time, and there was a lot of stuff going on back in them days, so that's what happened.
We're gonna do a song that you never heard before. We're gonna do a song that you never heard before. We're gonna do a song that you
For all the ladies,
never heard
this style,
before.
you look so fresh. Woman say me know you are the best. No other gal with you contest. You look so fine. Woman, I got to make you mine. Come take a key to me door. You can call anytime. Why? You a tease me. Woman, come and squeeze me. All night long, just warm and easy. I'll be your king and you can be my queen. We will go for your stroll where the grass is green. January to December. Woman, just remember. All night long, girl, I'll give it to you tender. Cause you're sweet, sweet like honey. Can you come around and you flex with me? Woman, I will never let you suffer. Girl, I want you, there will never be no other. 365, me say 724. Woman, I'll give you all my